Between and beyond, and welcome to a very special episode of Hook Cook's Continental Breakfast, the improvised world-building podcast guaranteed to feed a hunger you didn't know you had. I am the podcasting artist formerly known as Mitch, the Monster Chef.
My name is Dishbot, and tonight I'll play the role of Jack.
And I am Connor, your larder critter. That's right, welcome to Hook Cook's Continental Breakfast, where we're cooking up a continent, one country at a time. We labor over our hot podcasting grill to serve you up a fictional country each and every episode. That's right, join us in the kitchen as we blend prompts and surprise ingredients into a fresh, cooked, fictional country. Now, chefs, BFFs, let's get cooking. Jack, would you please reveal our prompt?
Tonight's prompt is Wasted Spark.
Wasted Spark.
Wasted Spark.
Yeah, that's a different way to say that.
That's a different way to say that.
Nice.
Always coming at you.
Coming at you with more angles.
You are always coming at us.
That's right. Just try and stop me. Please try and stop me. I'm so tired.
Now, we've had a little bit of time with this prompt to flesh out some great ideas, but we've also used that time to flesh out a few poor ideas, and we'll get through those first. The best before yesterday's, the first thoughts, the worst thoughts. Mitch, what do you got?
All right, I'd just like to preface this by saying that I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, but if you, dear listener, feel like you have a wasted spark within you, then you may be entitled to a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and government-subsidized meth. Speak to your healthcare team to see if government-subsidized meth is right for you like it's right for me.
All right.
Government-subsidized meth.
That's not medical advice.
It's not medical advice.
Yeah,
no.
right.
It's just like, I'm relating to the fellow people out there who maybe feel like they had a wasted spark of potential, perhaps. They did really well in high school and then just sort of petered out for no reason.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a comedy show, really.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it. And I feel like we're having fun and making comedy.
Making
together.
great laughs together.
Just to move on to the next kind of sushi plate on this sushi train of laughter. Why don't we go ahead and see what Jack's got for us?
All right. Real rough setup. Here we go. Wasted Spark. This is the name of my chain of retirement homes, aimed specifically at housing elderly people who want to ruminate upon a life filled with missed opportunities and wasted chances. At Wasted Spark, all of our residents' rooms are filled with pictures celebrating the achievements of childhood rivals and ex-flames. Our retirees love staying active in our state-of-the-art virtual reality theater, where they can relive regretful memories and pick open old wounds. And Tuesday night is Bingo Night, hosted as always by Nick Curios. Wasted Spark, when hell can't wait.
Oh my God. They would have gone pro too if it wasn't for that terrible knee injury.
Yeah, that's it.
God, both of you
just sort of lament in the nastiness. Yeah.
But hey, you start low and then you build high, right? This is good.
Yeah. And now peak, Connor, peak.
I thought everyone was going to do one about electricity being drunk. I don't know what that is. So now you do your one.
Connor, bring us home.
All right, Wasted Spark. Well, we all celebrate a great variety of joyful sprites, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and of course that rascally Saint Peter.
Leave it in. Leave it all in. It plays.
Remember the time your phone said it was at 1%, but somehow it ran long enough to get you that Uber ride? Remember the time your old light started working again for no reason? And do you recall the time you were testing your current against a competitor and you had just enough voltage to kill that innocent elephant? These were no mere coincidences, dear friends. No, that was Ted Spark.
Okay.
Jack,
All
would
right.
you like to introduce our baying, howling fan base to the meat and potatoes?
Yeah, let's move on over to the meat and potatoes, where we'll start diving into the details of this week's country. We've each come up with a pre-prepared segment covering one of three themes: people, place, and environment. Once we've sampled each dish, we'll jump it all together in a pot and get a taste for this corner of the continent we've been cooking. Connor, do you want to start off by showing me your meat and potatoes?
Oh, yes. I've been living in wait for those words. Wasted spark. Threepin stood frozen in the workshop, her locksmith's hammer poised above the anvil and the charge manifold atop it, muttering formulas and clutching the tool with her small, calloused hand. She knew the honor of being here, bottling the fractal lightning that fueled their lives. This power was volatile, dangerous, and immensely valuable. Any error would be costly. Tonight was her bottling night. Despite its significance, the occasion lacked ceremony. Leckmaster Surge leaned impatiently against a workbench, his soot-streaked blonde hair and muscular greased arms crossed tightly. "Come on, Threepin, bottle it already!" The charge was live, her hammer calibrated, and the anvil hummed with whirring mechanisms awaiting her final strike. One blow would seal the spark. She wheeled herself forward, but her swing faltered, misaligned. The hammer struck wrong, and the manifold groaned in protest, escalating into a roar. The air tingled ominously, a static burn building. Surge was already moving as Threepin's hammer landed. He lunged forward, dragging her into the safety of the overload booth. From there, through the tinted laminated glass, Threepin watched the spark break free. Thousands of brilliant veins of pure energy exploding outward, shredding the light and obliterating the workshop in a blinding, thunderous boom. The booth rattled violently, bolts straining. Threepin slumped into the booth's corner, overwhelmed. No, I screwed it up. The spark. Surge crouched beside her. Threepin, it's all learning. We'll recover. We'll save. Try again. 6 months, maybe a year, funds permitting. Stick with it, kid. Bottling lightning ain't easy.
Very
There
cool.
you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Bottled lightning.
Bottling lightning as a, like, I wanted to set it up in an environment that would, like, be loose enough to fit into whatever came next.
Yeah.
You know, a Leckmaster could be something in a cyberpunk place or something in, like, medieval England.
Mhm.
So whatever this culture is that we're developing, at some point, for some reason, electricity is extremely valuable and extremely volatile.
Nice.
But yeah, passing
I like
it
it.
along.
Yeah,
Very
Mitch.
nice. All right.
Show me them meat potatoes.
All righty, I'll show you the meat potatoes. I am exploring today the environment of this special little land. By day, the wastes are intolerable grey, a soul-sapping, mind-numbing, eye-watering blandness that stains the countryside of this once great land. A land of dead, arid ash that puffs up underfoot, paints everything. The wind swirls and eddies it, occasionally unearthing the great fossilized remnants of what came before. But even those ancient memories are weary and wasted. The fierce sunlight bakes everything, sapping the smallest hint of moisture from the air. At night, however, the winds pick up, and without the sun to bake it away, that moisture manages to survive long enough to weigh down that long-dead ash, to give it just enough potential that it begins to spark. Static electricity flickers with each gust, arcing in neon blue and yellow, pink and green, as the ash reacts against itself, and within those swirling ash storms a strange life is found. Electric connections firing between motes of ancient ash like neurons, and the wasted sparks awaken. They are elemental, primal. They speak in gusts of wind and the high-pitched buzz of a live wire. Lesser minds among you may cry out that this is foolish superstition, coincidence, a trick of light and wind and nothing more, a natural phenomenon and nothing to fear. And surely you may say, if they only live for a night, what harm could they do if they were real? Short-lived they may seem, but they do not live and die as we do. No, they remember, and slowly, as the gods is my witness, one night at a time, they are building something.
Very cool.
Very
That's
good,
great.
man.
You've both written like I the thing I have is the path between both of your things,
That's
which is
excellent.
really,
Awesome.
really good. I think.
That's good. Excellent work. And I like that you've gone for, because it did occur to me and I didn't know how to place it, the idea of like a wasteland from the word waste and how to incorporate sparks into that. So nice. Great job.
Awesome.
Jack, it is my honor to request you to present your meat and potatoes.
Can do. Here we go. The sky roils above a stretch of barren wasteland. Burnt-out trees dot a windswept landscape as howling gusts spin into tiny whirlwinds, pulling up ash and dust and debris and flinging it through the air. Every few seconds, an arc of lightning cracks from the heavy dark clouds that cover the sky above and thrums against the ground, exploding against a rock or a tree, showering the long-dead surface in sparks. Sometimes the arc finds purchase on a pylon, the current traveling down, deep below the surface, further and further through the rock, through the cement, and through a complicated system of wires, to wind up inside a flickering light bulb, and a voice calls out, "Damn it, Greg! You left the hallway light on again!"
Absurdly specifically between the two of the things.
Yeah,
that we've done.
really quite amazing,
You
right?
like mention ash and wires,
Yeah.
and like, what the fuck?
So it's this crazy, what we've got essentially is like a barren wasteland up top with these like crazy lightning storms that have like creatures in it, right? Like that was Mitch's part of the
like
puzzle.
static spirits, and I love the idea they're building something.
Spirits building something up there, and then pylons dot the surface, which transmit that lightning down to a like underground city full of like tinkerers and people using that lightning.
Yeah, underground like wasteland tinkerers, and they're forging things with it, but they don't understand it from like, you know, Renaissance kind of scientific point of view. They understand it from like a more magical kind of point of view, where they're trying to harness and capture this powerful energy that comes from the skies and from the wasteland itself. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's very neat. I feel like we don't really have to explore much more.
This is why we have a deck, right? Like, we have a deck full of cards that we will draw from. And luckily, we can draw an extra card or two if we need to flesh things out. I am happy with how neat it's landed. Again, even the order that we read it in felt like it was like, here are two things, and right in between.
That's
okay, cool.
Right.
Very nice.
Well, let's head over onto the spice rack over here. This is where we'll play the actual game. So on the spice rack, we've got our inciting events and we've got our scenarios. Inciting events are moments in our country's history, and then scenarios are sort of little bits of flavor that we'll use to pad out an inciting event. So our inciting event for this week is The Children Rebel.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool in a bottled environment to have a generational divide.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's belief in these spirits somehow, or like, you know, the older generation thinks of them as like superstition, but the newer generation is like becoming more aware of them from a scientific point of view.
Well, Connor, your character that you described,
Threepin.
Were they a child? They seemed sort of young, like
apprentice,
it was their first apprentice.
Yeah. So like exactly well placed. Yes. So Threepin in my mind was anywhere between 16 and 19. Completing an apprenticeship, like depending on the environment you're in, might land you at a different point. Maybe she was 14. But I wanted it to be pretty broad but young. So definitely young in terms of the children rebelling, like hammering in on the generational divide within this like bottled community, I think is very interesting. I think there's a lot we can do there.
Yeah. I mean, there could be like a lot of like Victorian kind of labor stuff in that, right? Like kids in...
Yeah, we've got a completely blank canvas here.
Crazy workshops.
Could absolutely be like Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Like
the kids go there because their fingers are small enough to get the wires to connect.
Yeah. It's like all of these kids are doing child labor to clean out like electrical soot chimneys.
I think there's something in there being creatures in the lightning and potentially them being like transmitted down through the wires somehow.
Yes,
I love that. Yeah.
Right?
The idea of the spark occasionally being wasted and exploding, like I think there's a chance that you could do it is either when it does blow up, it's because it was a ghost, or that in one of those events, some get out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's like, if 6 years later, Threepin's guiding a new apprentice through, and they do the same thing, but this time it's different, and like a bunch of these spirits come out to start completing their plan.
Yeah.
Like whatever that is, you know, they've found a route in.
Yeah, I suppose that what we want is for that to fold into the children rebelling in some way, right?
Yeah. So maybe they can either speak, like coerce the children into rebelling, or control them.
I think it's like you've got kind of two options in terms of us framing Threepin as the protagonist, or at least her generation as a protagonist. You either do that the spirits are somehow good and that the children are rebelling to show that, or that the older generation aren't listening to the threat and the newer generation is trying to convince the older generation that the threat is real, you know, fucking Scooby-Doo style, talking to a cop and he's like, oh, no way, ghosts in their old...
If we're doing Industrial Revolution child labor, I do sort of want that to be rebelled against, I think, by the... You know?
Yeah, I think...
Seems like an easy moral line.
I think in the children are rebelling, it would be weird for us to side with the adults.
Well, it's you know, and that's a challenge where it's like maybe these lightning spirits are really, really bad and dangerous, and the like children are sort of having to do the work because someone has to. Yeah. And like they think that it's all shit and rebel, and you're initially on their side, and then things break bad. Probably from these lightning elementals, sort of storm
again
creatures.
If the arc of the story is because the children rebel, the lightning spirits get out, so the status quo should be maintained, I think is like
not
we
great.
wind it back a little bit and go from more of a the threat is noticed by these child laborers first because they are on the front line of the most dangerous activities within this like culture. And they are telling people, you need to respond to this threat, but because of bureaucracy, because of like industrial like mismanagement, because of like people having too much power and too little interest, the children are ignored and they have to try and take over so that they don't all die. You know? Like, we don't need the country. It's like, I guess it is a country. So we do need to think of it as being fairly vast. Like in terms of like Threepin, quote unquote, being the narrative, like the antagonist rather, I don't think we need to tie ourselves to an individual. Just look at that person as like you know, like a litmus test on what's going on for people in that like age bracket. Yeah, maybe they are at the inciting event, but again, the children need to rebel. The inciting event itself is that they are rebelling. We can't set up them going to rebel. We need to go through what happens
when they
rebel.
Well, right? We need to know why. I think like that's what we're trying to get to.
Context is important, but I think a little time spent figuring out what does this rebellion look like will set us up well for like fleshing out the cards that we get later.
Yeah, certainly. It's exactly what you've just said, right? They notice these spirits coming down. They link the two things together, like the sort of arcane energy that this lightning is being used for is being generated by these spirits, and the spirits are really dangerous, right? They sort of have agency. They are doing something up there, and they're coming down here, and they're doing stuff down here, blowing up, killing people, all sorts of stuff. And it's affecting the children the most because they're at the front line. Yeah. And so that creates the rebellion. And we sort of have a kind of Rufio situation with like a sort of army of kids. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I feel like it would be well framed as an 80s kids action movie. It's classic, like your parents aren't listening to you, the adults, the figures of authority aren't listening to you because there is a Frankenstein down the road or whatever. I love the idea that it's like this army of kids. in terms of how we get that into like an organized front, a rebellion, rather than just like rioting, what has tied the kids together? Is it that they are going up to the top frequently and they just get more information doing that? They're installing the pylons and maintaining the pylons, and
I feel like you can't go up there. Right?
Yeah.
Like
it's so bad.
It's all down there. Yeah.
You cannot go up. Like a human being could not live up there longer than like a minute. Like you would just get zapped. So I think it's more that they're like in the workshops and then like the adults are sort of yucking it up. And maybe the organization it's more like the older kids as they age out of the workshops, but they're still sort of around that area. They're sort of pulling that stuff together.
A whole generation that we're talking about. I don't think we're just talking about kids that are under 10.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, one of the things I think would be cool to see would be this is, I imagine, like a tinker sort of gnomish, almost like they're using this lightning electricity and they shut it all off and the place goes dark. It's torchlight and stuff like that. The kids sort of like, that's like where I sort of see the rebellion.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of functioning in the rebellion, one of the major first strikes that they make is like fucking with the power, because they're the people that have to work with all of the power.
Yeah. And
right?
also that's the
great.
threat,
Okay.
right?
I mean, let's start getting into scenarios now, right? Our first scenario is it is time to conserve energy and resources. So I think absolutely what you've just said there, Mitch, right? Like they're on the front lines, they shut down production. And so this sort of society, which is sort of running, I suppose, off of this arcane electricity, suddenly parts of it. And like, if you think about like an underground bunker, like everything has to move very like systematically. And like as population grows, either like air and
you have
like
no natural
water
life,
food, water, like
completely.
everything would need to be powered. And so like people, even outside of this, like I imagine like this is sort of like industrialized areas and then like living areas and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not like the whole city is in conflict. It might just be sort of in the more
a lot of it would be happening in the industrial areas because like you'd have the older generation fighting to claim back the generators that
they're like camping out in factories they've taken over and stuff like that.
It's a real communist vibe.
Yeah.
Seize the means.
Seize the means, baby. But yeah, you'd still have other areas of the city which are like, you know, it's people really struggling because, you know,
they're not getting the electricity or the power.
You know, obviously all the power is going to go to the bigwigs in you know, uptown.
They'll have, you know, big batteries and stuff.
Big batteries and stuff.
When the power ain't flowing, you know, and then I guess there's another avenue of rebellion as well.
Yeah.
Eat the rich's batteries.
I think like I don't want to lose the idea that up top they're building something as well.
Yeah, completely. Definitely.
I think that's something we have to hold in our pocket here. I don't think that vibe's super, like, I'm not sure how we connect it with this scenario, right?
Okay, so in my head, right, you've got a 3-part war in this giant underground cavernous city that's mostly being turned dark, but with encampments with fires and basic generators and things running. And through the dark of the underground caverns and through the dim lights that you carry, you see these sparklit sentient ghosts now completely illuminated because they're in the dark, right? And you can see the almost humanoid forms of them slinking around trying to do shit and fucking with you in the dark while you're warring to like claim the power to stop those things.
Yeah, I'm imagining like almost like a scene, them breaking in to like a kid's, like they've barricaded off this whole industrial district, and then they're like realize these like elemental ghosts have taken that over, like all the kids and all the people in there,
and they're like
dead.
aliens from Alien, right?
They're building their stuff in there, and then suddenly it's like you said, this three-sided war,
political triangle where the old heads start going, "Oh fuck!" Right?
This is not the threat. This is just part of it. We've really fucked these kids over, and they're trying their best. But the actual threat to this society is
these elemental
setting up
sort of ghosts
over here.
Yeah. So like from that scenario, we've built the next part of the inciting event, which is that, yes, things go down, but during the fight for these resources and when everything begins to be really hard to do within the city and as desperation mounts, eventually, because these creatures have taken advantage of the chaos, they have got their foothold in so much so that, again, the old heads see that. And they start to like suffer. And the whole war-torn environment of the city is now having to politically reknit itself against this new and now established threat.
Cool.
Right. Scenario.
Next scenario. And this one I think will really work for what the Sparks are looking to do. The next scenario is big fire.
Right.
They're not like particularly advanced. They figured out
want
that
to build something.
Yeah.
It's mostly just twigs in a little like teepee shape.
They're like, listen, we barely understand fire because above it's like all windy and sandy and shit. But like, we're kind of fire, and we figured out underground, if we just light a fire, like that'll fix it.
That's gonna fix
It'll flush them all out like ants. Just like light a fire in the middle of the whole hive and just fucking smoke them out.
These things want to light a big fire, right?
What if it's smoke? Like, that's so good for the aesthetic of the underground city and the sparks haunting through. What if the things they're building and the things they're designing are all to like flood the electrical ash from above into this chamber, right? So there's this like, it's not as thick and it's not as volatile, but there's like a static ashen smoke and like snowfall that's like happening in the dark of the city.
So their urge is just simply to spread. It's nothing like more.
You could go one of two ways. They're either expanding their own environment because they want to live there and they can see the success of like the colony under there. And they're like, yeah, it's much more comfortable under there. We just need to change the environment so it's not windy and sunny all the time. Or they are just trying to get rid of them, right? They're like, you keep sapping power, you keep taking our lightning.
Taking us, essentially, to this species, right? Like, we're kidnapping them.
Every time a lightning bolt hits, a spark is born and you are wasting them.
Yeah.
You're stealing them. Yeah.
So they're now going down to kill all the people.
Right? Because, like, yes, they're like almost termites, but they're doing it because you're taking and killing their young.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That gives the Sparks lots of reason to do what they're doing, and it complicates the political procedures of the people that live in the city. I like that a lot.
You can imagine, like, if they find a way to communicate with the Sparks, them finding common ground with the kids, right? Like, because it's about this power dynamic of the society. And
yeah, completely, because they restitch, right? Yeah. And then the kids learn that they have to stop using power down here the way that they are.
Yeah.
And the old heads don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got like an inverse of the plot where the kids do eventually side with the Sparks and try to find some kind of way to live in harmony with these other creatures. While the old heads are like, no, we like, fuck, I need my foot soaked, bro. Like, I'm not gonna, like, who gives a shit if I fucking put one of these things into a chamber? Cool. Lots of threads. I think there's lots of interest, and I think different like individuals within either one of these ranks could have a multitude of different like opinions about what's happening. So
for sure,
very nice. I like that a lot. Okay,
cool.
What's the name of this country?
The name.
Thunder Mountain.
Thunder.
The Boomer Caverns. Works in multiple levels. Think about it. Above ground and underground.
Works in multiple 2 levels. 2 whole levels.
That's multiple, baby.
One.
I think you've got to name it after like the Tinkerer culture.
Yeah.
Right? And it needs to be named after the process or close to the process that's allowed them to bottle lightning. Not like Bottle City.
Bottle bank.
Like the bottle bank.
The 40 ounces. Yeah, culturally, we've got kind of an industrial vibe.
Or put something with like build or built or built and
Bilton.
I was going to say Biltover, and I was like, no, that's just Piltover with a B.
I think you can name the people, right? So fuck. How is this so hard? The whole episode has been fucking easy. How is this so hard? Maybe what we're doing is overthinking it. Maybe it should be called the Spark Wastes.
Seems so lazy. I want to find the right thing, the perfect thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if I get bored, we'll call it the Spark Wastes.
All right, easy.
But I'm not bored yet.
Okay, what about the Static Sands? Static is cool. Use that word.
Is cool. It's a cool word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool word.
That is a great point.
That's a good one.
You could call it the Charge Heart. You could call it the name it
Core?
after the
Like
heavens.
something core?
The Neon
Down there,
Core.
right?
Yeah. The Core. Something involving the Core. A great film.
The Core. Open brackets 2004. Close brackets.
Exactly.
A great film.
Yes, we were inspired to found the
Ashbolt.
city by Walmart Armageddon.
Ash built. Spark Ridge.
We don't need Armageddon. We have Armageddon at home. The Core. Like something about a bunker?
Circuit?
Circuit.
Circuit City?
Circuit City.
Circuit City.
We could call it, listen, Radio Shack.
I do really like Circuit City.
I don't hate Circuit City. I don't think anyone's going to sue us.
I'm kind of addicted to Circuit City. Is it just that we're like 10 minutes into trying to pick a name and I've gone like cuckoo crazy? Or is Circuit City?
No. I am grasping
hot.
to that not like a man drowning who fumbles for a rope. I think it's a great idea.
I think Circuit City's a great name.
Circuit City, baby. All right, here's Circuit City.
Where all your shields are good.
The only problem with Circuit City is that the story that we've set there is kind of dark.
But that's how you lure them in.
To Circuit City. There's a great savings and a kind of a dark story about
Exactly.
Yeah.
Victorian.
Walk in because they see
labor
all the
laws.
shiny new modems in the window.
Yeah. They don't tell you how those lithium batteries are made, do they?
Exactly.
What about
Bitches
lithium?
bugs. Lithium City?
Drop the city, like lithium.
Just call it lithium.
Yeah.
I love it. It's incredible. Any battery-inspired name, I think,
pretty
is completely
good, right?
fine. In fact, you can say that the people of this place have discovered lithium and don't really understand it, and that's contributed to them bottling these sparks. And they've named it lithium. They called themselves lithium. And the
They're
Knights of
like
Lithium
paper in their
control-
walls and like alkaline batteries. Like, what are these used for?
Yeah. Okay. Well, here in Lithium, we have an underground community that's on kind of an industrial bent. The older generation forcing the younger generation to work in close relationship with the circuits that line their city. The children are first to notice the threat of spark-like beings, dangerous, seemingly malevolent creatures that lash out from broken sparks. The older generation don't listen to this threat, eventually leading to a rebellion by the children. The children finally convince the old heads that it's a real threat, but they also discover a method of communication with the sparks themselves and learn that it is through the obliteration of their young that this city has been able to power itself entirely, leaving us in a state where the children are weighing up the option of continuing the status quo or siding with the sparks. Lots of conflict at hand. Does that sound about right, gents?
Yeah, but Sparks want to make a big fire, I think.
Sparks
It's
wanna
my
make a
only
big
addition to that. They want to make a big fire.
Yeah, the sparks are trying to contribute to the static ash within the air below as a method not only to empower themselves but weaken their enemy. That about puts a bow on it.
I'm in love with this place. I love it. It's cool.
I think it's a cool spot. Not for chilling, but narratively.
Yeah. And maybe sometimes for chilling.
All right, well, I think with that, it's time to call it a shift here in the Hook Cook kitchen. As we draw things to a close, I'd like to thank Halisna, as always, for our opening theme, and Avery Alder for Quiet Year, which has inspired our little game here.
That's right. And I'd like to thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed the meal, don't forget to tip your servers and leave a rating in the comment section of your favorite podcasting app.
I've been Connor, your larder critter.
My name is Dishbot, and tonight I played the role of Jack.
And I was Mitch, the podcasting artist, formerly and still currently known as the Monster Chef. Thank you so much for listening. Are we happy, boys?
Yes, chef. I've been Connor, your Jesus Christ. Your Jesus
Really?
Christ.
Oh my God.
I'm Connor, your
Just in
God,
time
you're
for
here
Christmas.
just in time.
It's my birthday.